Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking some time with us today in advance of this weekend's playoff race at Richmond Raceway. We're going to get right into questions for Michael. So let's kick things off here with Bob Pockris. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, good morning, Michael. I'm curious how much of your strategy is, hey, let's go for wins, and how much of your strategy is, there's a difference between finishing 8th, 10th, 12th, 14th, 16th in the overall standings and not wanting to risk too much?
No, I think that we just are going to continue to try to be aggressive as we can. I mean, obviously Darlington didn't go how we wanted, which, doesn't make us back down anymore. It actually, if anything, we just have to be more aggressive. And, obviously we want to finish up as high as we can in the points, but we also feel like we're in, a spot where we want to be aggressive and see if we can't, get through to the next round.
Do you still see a path to get to the next round by points?
Yeah, for sure. I think that, obviously at the beginning of Darlington, it didn't look that promising with, us being the first car out. But then beyond that, a lot of those cars had issues and the point gap isn't that big. And Richmond and Bristol both can be, races where you have, a lot of attrition and a lot of issues. So it's definitely not that far out of reach. At first I thought it was going to be impossible, but after the race played out, I feel like there's still a chance.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we're going to take our next question from Claire B. Lang. Go ahead, Claire.
Thank you. Michael, have you had a chance to debrief what happened? I know that repaved portion of the track at Darlington, everyone expected it to be tough. Have you looked back at it? Have you talked about it? And, there was so much attrition. Was it a lot to do with that area?
I think you muted yourself accidentally, Michael.
Sorry, I'm not sure how that happened. I have had the opportunity to go back and look at data and watch it and kind of replay it all. And yeah, definitely that section was tricky just because you're going from, old asphalt to new asphalt. But that's not really the cause. The cause was, I was being pretty aggressive trying to get around the 43 because he was on old tires. And, I just gassed it up to try to clear him going into 2 and just was carrying too much speed and got loose. I mean, it's just a mistake and, it's unfortunate, but, there's nowhere to place blame but myself, just trying to get around the 43 as quick as possible and not lose momentum and time. We had a good run going. We had a fast car. We felt like, track position was going to be important. So, you don't want to give anything up. And, yeah, so just, if you can hit the rewind and do it all over, I would do it differently, but you don't get the rewind button. So, you just got to keep moving on and get ready for this weekend.
Well, you had said before the end of the regular season that your team would have to be aggressive to advance. And so that's what you were being. It was so interesting to see so many of the playoff drivers fall off. We always expect crisis at a place like Darlington. It's a hard butt race, it's a really tough one. But
yeah.
But why do you think so many, failed of the drivers that were the playoff drivers and ran into trouble? I mean, we expect it, but maybe not that many.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any real reason other than, like you said, Darlington's tough and it's a tough racetrack. And, you get into the wall a little bit and, you got a fender rub and you cut down a tire or, just so much can happen there. And so I think it's just one of those racetracks that it definitely can cause, that type of race, but you just never know because you watch Kyle Larson those last 10 laps and he's bouncing off the wall and never cut a tire until the end there. So you just never know. You just, it's a tough track and yeah, just the way that it all played out. But, we've seen races like Bristol and races like that kind of be that way too. So having these tough tracks in these first 3, it is going to create some opportunity to maybe get some points back.
I wish you good luck. Thanks for your time. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take our next question from Kyle Dalton. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, Michael. So, a couple days from now, it's the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And so I've been asking all the drivers, trying to get a feel of where you were, what you remember from that day and its impact on you.
Yeah, so I was in Chandler, Arizona on my way to work at the Bob Bondurant School. It's where I worked at the time. And I would have to do the math, but I was 17, 18 years old heading in. And when I got to work, everybody was kind of just sitting around. You could tell that something was going on, and all kind of sitting around a small TV watching what was happening. And about the time I got to work, the second plane had crashed into the building. And so it was just one of those moments that you never forget, just not understanding what was happening and what was going on, and, seeing it, and just, it was just kind of an overwhelming thing. I think everybody was very somber and very, just overwhelmed with, what's happening and not knowing what the future would hold, and, what was going on. And then you hear rumblings of other planes and, the Pentagon and all these things happening. You're trying to figure out, what's happening. It all seems like it's happening at once. And so, as a young, whatever you want to call it, adult, teenager at the time, the thing that stands out to me was the next few days after, and watching TV and watching first responders go into the building day after day after day after day, and going through the rubble and pulling people out. And just, there was this sense of unity and bond, I feel like, across every American. And it was as tragic of an event as it was this really incredible time where you felt like everybody was on the same team and everybody was focused on the right things. And so it's, something that stands out to me for sure.
Thank you. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
All right, we'll take our next one from Nathan Solomon. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, Michael, thanks for your time today. I'm curious, with where you stand in points, how do you approach a track like Richmond, a place where you haven't had a whole lot of success on over your career?
Yeah, I mean, Richmond's definitely been a tough track for us as an organization and a group. And so we've been working really hard, the last few months, on the simulator and trying to, come up with a new package there, because what we've had hasn't been working. And so, we're just relying on our tools and relying on, past experiences and trying to, come up with a new package. I mean, we know it's a big question mark race for us. But at the same time, we went into Darlington with not knowing, how we would stack up speed wise. And, even though the result doesn't show it, we actually brought a really fast race car and had a lot of speed. So I feel like we have the potential to do that again at Richmond. And I know for sure we can do it at Bristol, because Bristol's actually been a strong track for us in the past. So yeah, you don't know until you unload, unfortunately, without practice and all that, you don't get a lot of opportunities to work on it. So you just got to trust your tools and your people, and we're all working hard, and hopefully we hit it.
Do you think it plays to your advantage at all with the 750 package in place these next few races?
No, I mean, the 750 package hasn't been our strength. I mean, we're really, in our group, the 550 tracks have been better for us. So it's not a strength for us. But like I said, Darlington was a good example of what we could do as far as speed and performance. So I feel like we're in a good direction, and hopefully we'll be able to have that same kind of speed at Richmond.
Thanks. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
All right, we'll take our next one from Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Thank you. Michael, I know that same tire being used this weekend as will be at Phoenix. How much, carries over from Richmond to Phoenix that you find, with this package?
Not a lot. I mean, Richmond is kind of that old wore out surface. You have tire fall off, a lot of tire fall off. And you go to Phoenix and it's fast and it's smooth and you don't have a ton of fall off. So, I think that you're always learning a few things, but I don't feel like Richmond is an indicator of what you'll have at Phoenix, or, there's a whole lot to take from it.
Also, we've seen at Richmond in the past some commitment line violations. You don't always see that at every track. And I'm just curious if there's anything that's in particular that makes the commitment line a little bit more challenging at Richmond, or if it's just been more circumstance in the past.
No, it's definitely a challenge. I think just because the tires are wore out so much, and, a lot of green flag stops. I think, Darlington and Richmond both are tough tracks as far as green flag stops and green flag cycles, not making mistakes. the pit roads are also curved. So that makes it tricky for us, the drivers and the teams, as far as pit road speed. And I think that's why you see so many penalties too, because, you run different lights at the beginning and the end, and that can get tricky as you're accelerating and slowing down at different spots. So Richmond and Darlington are both, tough racetracks to get onto pit road without making a mistake. And I think it's more anything, it's just the tire wear and you're slip sliding around. So when you're coming to pit road, you're braking hard, you lock up a tire, it's very easy to slide over that box for sure.
Last thing is how long did it take to get over Sunday night? I almost wonder if it was one of those cases where there's that frustration, but then once you get home and you see that everybody else has had problems and maybe you're not as far back, that the attitude changes, or does the attitude just automatically change because it's Monday and it's time to go back to work?
Yeah, I wish it was that easy. All of that, for me, there's always that internal wrestle and battle that you have, especially when it's, 100% your fault. I mean, there's certain circumstances that, are out of my control, out of our team's control. And so, those are easier to stomach than when you just make a mistake. And, and then to add on to that, we had a fast race car and the guys did a great job of preparing it and spent a lot of time. And, as the playoffs were, ramping up, we obviously these first 3 races, we knew how important they would be. So a lot of emphasis on these race cars, and so you feel like you let everybody down, and that's hard. It's a hard thing to, kind of navigate through. But like you said, you got to get ready for next week and you got to move on. And, I got a great team around me. I mean, I think that's part of what makes, Front Row special is, we have a really, tight group. Especially the 34 car, we're all really tight on the 34 car, and obviously everybody's disappointed, and that's it's a tough thing to do. It's walk back to the hauler and see a wrecked race car and all those things, but my guys have been really supportive, and we have a good team. And so it took me up until about yesterday to as far as watching the end of the race and seeing all the other guys have trouble. I mean, it was a mix. The mix was, it does create the opportunity for us not to be so far back. But the other side of it is one of those races where if you played it cool and didn't hit anything, you're going to run 15th pretty easy, and we'd be in a much different spot. Like I said, you can't hit rewind, but if you'd have known that going into it, I'd have probably approached things a little bit differently. But if I'd approached it differently, maybe it wouldn't have worked out that way either. So you can't overthink it. I think that I've definitely analyzed a lot of things, analyzed a lot of data, look at what I can do and can't do. And that's sometimes good and bad. I mean, it's good because I'm always learning and growing and figuring out how I can be better, but it's bad because I can't necessarily shut it off and just be okay with, I got loose, it's over. That's done. I tend to look at those things pretty in-depthly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. And Bob, did you have a follow-up?
I did. It's kind of a little bit along those lines. I was curious, did you watch the end? Did you sit and watch, or did you drive home? And are you, when those other guys have trouble, are you happy, or is it, I mean, it's hard because I assume you don't want to wish ill will on anyone, but, things kind of worked out, the best, in some ways better than what you could have hoped.
Yeah. I mean, I think as I was watching the race, I wasn't really thinking about it too much like that until I got to the end and saw the points and all that. Like I said, it's a little bit of a mix for me, being that so many guys had trouble, it keeps us in the fight, but it also is a little bit of a kick because, you just that those were points and probably positions that would have been hard to get otherwise. And so they were kind of free to take if we didn't make that mistake. So, but yeah, I did watch it and watch the race but as far as feelings when people fall out, yeah, I mean, I don't get excited when people have trouble. But when you get to the end and you see kind of how the points laid out, I felt like, we still have a chance. And without those guys having trouble, we'd be pretty far back.
Did you watch just because you wanted to see what happened, or was there something that you were looking forward to hope to learn for future races this year? I mean, obviously new car next year, so there's probably not a whole lot to learn, like really looking far ahead?
No, I mean, I watch because, I'm into it. Like, I want to see, who's running well, what they're doing, what line they're running. You kind of just, it's hard for me to turn that off. Even if you're, have a night like we had when we were out. And so you're paying attention to who's doing what and, how the pit cycles are going and all those things. And I sort of still can't stop thinking about, like, I wonder if we would have pitted early here or pitted later there. What happens if this would have cycled out? So, yeah, I stay pretty engaged with it all, even after a tough day like that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, Michael. Well, thank you so much for taking some time with us. We really appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck this weekend at Richmond Raceway.
All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.